I'd like to welcome everybody here to Amherst Neighbors Program. My name is Sandy Roth, and I'm on the Programs Committee along with Larry. And as Larry was saying, we put together about 2 programs a month. And we're thrilled today to have Darcy DuMont as our speaker. Darcy, you want to raise your hand there? She has this beautiful quilt behind her that framing her, framing her. And it's a really important topic, zero waste. I think all of us, are trying to do our best to reduce waste. And Darcy in this program will present the history and progress of a zero waste bylaw proposal to significantly reduce our trash. We're looking forward to that. And Darcy is a retired teacher and lawyer, and in general, I'll say she's an activist. I think she probably would agree with that. Seems like she's very active. And without further ado, Darcy will start sharing her screen. And then when Darcy is finished, we will have questions and answers and comments. Okay, Darcy?
Thanks so much, all of you, for inviting me to come and talk about this. I'm really happy that you have an interest in zero waste and in this proposal. So what I am going to do is to share my screen to start with, just to show you the Zero Waste Amherst website and some of the things that you can learn from there about this proposal and about other zero waste initiatives. Let's see. Okay. Do we see?
Yeah, you're all set.
All right, so Zero Waste Amherst was created in about 2020. It was created, I was one of the founding members, but it was sort of created because the former official town resident committee was dissolved, and there was a feeling that there was a need for a resident committee to be looking at this. And you can go to this. You can just Google Zero Waste Amherst to get the website. We are just a volunteer committee of residents committed to the goal of achieving zero waste. So we also have on our Take Action site the form that you can use to contact the town manager and the town council to give your opinion, to comment, and in this particular situation would be to ask them to accelerate the progress of the proposal so that we can get it done and implemented by 2026. Our projects that we have looked at, we've almost entirely focused on the waste hauler proposal in the last couple to 3 years. So we have a listserv of a great number of people who are interested in zero waste, but we have a small group of people that are working on the waste hauler reform. We also are very interested in banning single-use plastic in Amherst. We are seeking people who are interested in participating or spearheading that project. And we're also interested in zero waste programs in the schools and in collaborating with UMass waste reduction programs. So, but mostly what we've been doing is focusing on this proposal, which we'll tell you about. We have the actual page on the proposal and the fact sheet for the proposal that gives you just sort of the basics about it. It basically came up shortly after USA Waste and Recycling took over the local haulers. We had 3 local haulers, and the town really favored them because they were local businesses, but then they were all bought up by USA. And there was some resistance and pushback because people didn't want to have a large regional hauler, and the pricing is not transparent, and they are not doing anything to incentivize waste reduction. or very little. And so this proposal sort of grew out of that. And with the cooperation of the Department of Public Welfare, who studied it through a technical assistance grant with the Department of Environmental Protection. So that sort of got it started. It is currently this is an FAQ, so it's lots of questions about the proposal that proposal that I'm going to explain to you. It is currently in a committee of the town council, the Town Services and Outreach Committee. The committee has taken a stand on it and tried to move it forward. Last June, it put forward a request to the whole town council to ask the town manager to issue an RFP to get cost information about the different services that might be provided. And so that's what is happening right now. The town manager is working with a consultant to get cost information on which we can base a final decision and adoption by the town council. So the FAQ has all sorts of questions in it, like different types of questions like, I'm a renter, how would this affect me? I'm a member of a homeowners association. I live in senior independent living, and so on. Lots of different questions that individuals might bring up. So, and we have a resource page, everything about zero waste. So I'm just going to move on to the actual presentation that was made by the council sponsors, who are Councilor Jennifer Taub, Andy Steinberg, Alicia Walker, and in the last session, Shalini Balmilne. And the community sponsor is Zero Waste Amherst. So I am going to share some of the slides from the actual proposal. This is the actual section of the bylaw it's a bylaw amendment. I know I have the slides on the left-hand side here. I'm keeping them there because I'm going to kind of jump around. So I need them there. I hope you can see the slides okay. So this is the actual original proposal. It has 6 elements, which I will go through. The 6 elements are that it will add a definition. It will add a definition of compostable materials. And that definition, from the perspective of Zero Waste Amherst, would include food scraps, and food scraps other than what you usually put in your backyard compost, which would include eggshells, meat, fish, dirty paper, paper towels, compostable containers, paper plates, any kind of dirty paper, and yard clippings. So USA actually provides a service where you can voluntarily have the option of having curbside compost pickup for an extra $15 a month. And those until just recently, those were the things that they included. They have recently taken out the taking of yard clippings. Anyway, the second element is having a contract. Right now, residents who are not using the transfer station have subscription services with USA Waste and Recycling. Oh, somebody's not on mute.
Yeah, please put yourself on mute if you're not.
So the advantage to having a contract with a hauler is that there's a competitive bidding process, and that automatically brings prices down. You get three haulers bidding against each other, and prices will go down. And you can also include the elements that you want, such as transparency, data collection, including compost pickup. So the third element is including curbside compost pickup. Instead of having 2 carts, you would have 3 carts. And basically, 40% of what, if you are currently putting your compost in your trash, 40% of your trash will be diverted to the compost cart. So that will mean you can have a smaller cart, which will cost less. So we expect the fourth element is phasing in the program. We want it to start with single family and 2 to 4 family homes, and then within 3 years include apartment complexes, businesses, condo complexes, homeowners associations, etc. We are putting the single family homes first because they're much easier to get started. They already use carts. They don't have to be educated to use carts. And most of the apartment complexes use dumpsters. And so there's a whole other process that needs to be developed to educate renters, condo complex residents and so on. So the fifth element is adopting a pay-as-you-throw fee structure. Right now, we don't have that. We have different size carts, but the difference in the cost between them is so minimal as to be meaningless. And we see in other communities where they have a pay-as-you-throw fee structure, it reduces trash by 35%. So just because of the financial incentive. The sixth element is that we would like the compost to be disposed of or left tipped locally. And the only industrial scale composter that is nearby is Martin's Farm in Greenfield. So we expect that were this to happen, that it would probably at least start by going to Martin's Farm, which is a fantastic composting facility. So those are the 6 elements. The key endorsements for the proposal have been many. These are we have 2 official Amherst endorsers, the Board of Health and the League of Women, or the Energy and Climate Action Committee. The rest of these groups on the list are, climate groups or town-wide groups like the Amherst League of Women Voters, the Hitchcock Center, and the final 2 are statewide groups, the Sierra Club and the Community Action Works. So I am just going to jump up to why we're doing this. Because I think all of you are aware we have a waste crisis globally, not just here, but throughout the world. What's in our trash? We have, as I mentioned, 40%, more than 40%, compostable materials that is currently going into our trash, plus dirty paper. So most people are putting their banana peel in the trash. So that this, on a townwide basis, would divert those items from the trash to the compost cart. And then it would go to Martin's Farm or a composting facility. These are the waste crisis is caused by organic waste going to landfills. That increases our greenhouse gases. It impacts environmental justice communities that are next to landfills and incinerators. There is a shortage of landfills. We're about to run out of capacity altogether in Massachusetts. The current system penalizes those who generate little waste, financially that is, and relying on individuals to compost isn't likely to work. So I'm just going to go into those a little bit. So 50%, just going to move the pictures of people over here. 50% of solid waste is organic, and much of it ends up in landfills. Organic materials in landfills decompose and produce methane, a greenhouse gas. San Francisco just recently reported that 20% of the methane produced by San Francisco comes from landfills. And yes, a potent greenhouse gas. 79% of municipal solid waste incinerators are located in environmental justice communities in Massachusetts. And you can see the map here of who is affected by pollution and toxins caused by living next to waste incinerators. 6 out of 7 Massachusetts landfills are scheduled to close by 2030. The current hauler system penalizes residents who generate little waste. So if you're a little old lady living by herself in a house and creating very little waste, you're currently, with our current system, unless you use the transfer station, paying the same amount as someone who has the largest cart, or virtually the same. And the last point here is that opt-out the reason that we want a town-wide program is because we can't rely on the goodness of do-gooders, volunteers, to make the kind of impact that we want on waste reduction. And so opt-out programs like our current community choice energy program, Valley Green Energy, that's an opt-out program. Everyone is signed up unless you sign out. And so that kind of a program is much more effective to actually reduce waste. So I am going to stop sharing this. And I want to show you another. I want to share our study that we did in 2023. I can get there. Let's see. Wait a minute. Do you see the trash recycling survey? Good. Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. It's very long. It's available on our website. But in 2023, the town council asked Zero Waste Amherst to do a survey of residents, both people who use the USA Waste and Recycling and the transfer station, to see how much people were paying, because we did not have hard data from USA and it's not transparent on its website. So, but by the end of the survey, we did get our figures confirmed by USA, which was great. So I'm just going to show you the takeaways from the different groups. The takeaways from the group that used the hauler, was that the average cost per household of services was about $550 annually. That there's no meaningful price incentive to reduce trash based on cart size, as I mentioned to you. And there's no meaningful price incentive to reduce trash based on frequency of pickup. That is, that there's no incentive to reduce trash by whether or not you get weekly or bi-weekly pickup of trash. They cost the same. I get bi-weekly. I pay the same as all the people that get weekly pickup. So of the 310 respondents who are USA customers, only 5 responded that they purchased the additional voluntary curbside compost pickup. I was one of those 5. So obviously that is not going to significantly reduce our waste, and that's mostly because it wasn't advertised well. So as for the transfer station users, the takeaways were that the majority of pass holders visit the transfer station bi-weekly or less often. That take it or leave it was very valued by 2/3 of the current and 4/5 of the previous, transfer station users. About 1/3 of the annual pass holders bring organics to the transfer station in addition to their trash and their recycling. And less than 2% use the curbside organics pickup. And that's added because there are quite a few people who use the transfer station and USA hauler, so they pay for both. And why would people have both a transfer station sticker and the hauler service? Well, I'm one of those people, and the reason that I do it is to be able to use the other services, the hard to recycle items that you can't drop off without a sticker. So these are the things that USA confirmed about our data, that there is a very small difference in cost by cart size, that the average cost they confirmed. They confirmed that less than 2% of USA customers use curbside organics, and that there's price variability, in particular with their boutique service, and that there are no discount programs, no senior discount or anything like that through USA. Their pricing, $42 for the small cart, $44 a month, and $40 for the medium cart, and $46 for the large cart. The boutique service starts at $1,000 a year, and is charged to residents who either want or need their trash and recycling to be picked up at their house because they, for some reason, can't get it to the curb. And that small carts, they confirmed that small carts that were previously 32 to 35 gallons are now 45 gallons. They eliminated their smallest carts. Yes, so those are takeaways. There's a lot more, but we won't cover it today. I also wanted to show you the Louisville, Colorado program. It is very transparent. It's done through Republic Services, which is also available in this area, which is one of the potential bidders. And they have a much wider difference between their small, medium, and large carts. They're about $15 a month different as opposed to our $2 difference. And like I said, very transparent. If you're in this program, if you live in Louisville, you can find all this information on the website. It tells all about, how much it would cost to get an extra cart, to go from weekly to biweekly or biweekly to weekly, and so on for each of the different kinds of carts. Their default is biweekly trash pickup. And why is it okay to have biweekly trash pickup? You might think, oh, that would be smelly after 2 weeks. Well, no, it wouldn't be, because you don't have food scraps in there anymore. You can go a long time without having your trash smell, or forever, because there are no food scraps in there. So this is available to look at on the on the Louisville, Colorado Republic Services website. Anybody can look at it, and this is their current prices. So, and I also wanted to show you in Pittsfield, there is a brand new system that the Mayor Marchetti, who is a climate champion, and Commissioner of DPW Morales, both of them are climate champions from what I can tell. They just did something that they said could not be done, which is that they have contracted with Casella to do automated service. They previously had manual service, and they've gone to automated, which we have been told for quite a while only means that you can only do single stream with automated. They are, however, doing automated with dual stream recycling. So alternate weeks, they're picking up paper and mixed recyclables in the same truck. So another interesting progressive thing they're doing is that they are doing trash pickup bi-weekly, and they're using 48-gallon carts. So you can have bigger carts if you pay more for them. So this is all their outreach. They are going from manual to carts, so they have to educate people about carts, where we don't have to educate people about carts. They already know about them. So I just want to, I'm going to end there, and I just want to go to take action again. And just to remind you that if you are so moved, it would be great to have you go to the Zero Waste Amherst website, click on Take Action, and on this form, let the town council and the town manager know that you'd like to have this program be a reality and have it fast tracked so that we could start in 2026. So that's what I have, and glad to take questions.
So if anybody has a question, kind of raise your hand. Maybe I can kick it off. I have a question about food scraps.
Okay.
Um, so my wife and I live in Pelham, and we go to the Amherst transfer station. And I can't remember how long ago. I don't know how long they've been taking food scraps at the. Do you know how long they've been doing it, Darcy? At the
At least 5 years.
5 years?
At
Oh,
least, yeah, not too much longer than that.
because about 6 months ago, we saw all these people taking their food scraps. We hadn't really noticed that they had the food scrap. And I have to say, it's made a huge difference to separate our food scraps from our trash that we put in the bin. And once every week or so, we have this big thing with food scraps, and we take that to the transfer station, which is $125 a year in addition to other things. But I just can't believe how our trash doesn't smell anymore. When we have it in the garage, we're not having bears or raccoons or anyone come in because it's in a separate thing. And it almost seems like it's almost like a no-brainer to put food scraps and separate it from your plastic and paper. And I'm just wondering about, we weren't educated on that, but what's the kind of the education and the efficacy of doing food scraps separately, from paper and plastic and other kinds of things? And do people know about that?
Do people know, well, I would say that people don't generally know about it, that food scraps are, should not be in the landfills. I mean, that's the reason why you're taking them out of the trash bin, is that you don't want them to go to the landfill and cause methane and pollution and so on. But yeah, and it reduces the amount of your trash significantly. If we add the 40% for the compostable materials being taken out, plus the 35% of the pay-as-you-throw price incentive, that means you reduce your trash by 75%. And that's what communities in California and places that are now banning organics in the trash stream have as goals to reduce by 75 or 80%. So we're just being conservative by saying 40%. But yes, it is. I think people in communities that do this buy in right away. One way that we save money also is that the compost goes to the compost from the transfer station. And if we did this program, our compost would go to Martin's farm. The disposal of that compost costs half of what disposal of trash costs. So that's a huge savings long-term for the town. Because the contract will cost less because the disposal is less than for trash. I'm not sure I answered your question there, but
Well, I think you have, but you know, I mean, I'm just really when you showed that slide of the methane that comes from food scraps or organic materials, I was kind of embarrassed because I had no idea that that was the case. I mean, for years we just put all our food scraps in our trash and put it in our dumpster, and that got taken to the. And I didn't really know until I just saw you put that up. And I'm just wondering if, in general, do people aware of that? And it's really, it's easy to do, and it's actually very satisfying to
yes,
separate that.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And what people also don't know is that backyard composting, and I hesitate to say this because backyard composting is better than sending your food scraps to the landfill.
Hmm.
But backyard composting, if you're a lazy backyard composter, meaning you just keep adding stuff to the pile instead of mixing it and aerating it, it provides methane. I mean, it causes methane
Oh,
in your backyard. Not that it's going to affect you in your backyard, but it affects the world, the global situation. So it's better than not doing it. But because our landfills are full, but it doesn't prevent methane unless you're one of those composters who does all the mixing and aerating of your compost. And I know people don't like hearing that.
well, well, thank you. You answered it now. Arlie has a hand raised. Arlie, you want to unmute and you have a question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you so much for this. I'm learning things too. I am a backyard composter, but we have a model of composter that's like a wheel. So it's very easy to turn. So we turn it like every 3 days or whatever.
Oh,
So it's a nice model of compost. Yeah, we started, my husband and I, so we're a smaller trash thing. We live in a condo complex though, so it's anyway, but my question was, I'm having to listen to this on a speaker because, so I didn't see your presentation visually, just hearing it. When you said manual versus automatic, for the trash pickup, am I making myself clear? I didn't understand what that is.
Manual is when the trash truck comes, there are usually two people who come and pick up your trash. One drives and one gets out of the truck and picks up usually if it's manual, it is just picked up with their hands. So automated is trucks that have automated arms that pick up the trash carts. The carts are made so these arms can pick them up and put them in the truck without a human coming outside the truck. And
Okay.
they need a driver, they need one person, half as many employees. And so that is the automated system. But
Okay.
in the past, it has only seemed to serve single stream recycling. So single stream recycling produces more recycling, but is much more contaminated than dual stream.
Darcy, what do you mean by single stream?
Single stream is what the people in Amherst now are doing with USA Waste and Recycling, which is paper is mixed in with the mixed recyclables. There's only one bin for recycling. So most of us in the past have learned how to recycle with at least dual stream recycling, where we had a red bin and a blue bin, and the truck came every other week. That's what we used to do with our local haulers. But USA is automated, and it only does single stream, and it has a single stream recycling facility of its own in Connecticut. So it is, financially incentivized to stay with that single stream system. Dual stream is done in the MRF in Springfield, where they still have plenty of towns in Western Mass that bring their dual stream paper separate from the mixed recyclables to the MRF in Springfield. They have about 5% contamination, meaning leftovers that have to be put in the trash. And most single stream recycling facilities have between 18 and 25% contamination, because all the liquids contaminate the paper and so on. You can see I have a bias.
So
But
your bias is for dual stream?
mine is, but
Yeah.
if it ends up being single stream, it'll end up being single stream. But that is something that we're excited that Longmeadow and Pittsfield have embarked on an automated program with dual stream.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
they will be taking their recycling to the MRF in Springfield. Our recycling at the transfer station also goes to the MRF. And that's because it's preferred by our DPW. It has its own place where it sends paper that they like better than the MRF, but the mixed recyclables go to the MRF.
Looks like Carol.
Carol Rose.
Rather like Sandy, I was a little slow to catch on when I was at the transfer station. I still want to call it the dump. I'd see the bins and I saw the compost, but never kind of quite understood how to use it and didn't have the time until finally I went and asked one of the always wonderful, helpful folks there and started using it for everything and got rid of USA. I'm very happy to save that money. And I really value that service there, and feel like whether we go on to hopefully a new townwide one and maybe still continue at the transfer station or however it all works out, somehow, I mean, I don't think I was unique or that Sandy was in being a little bit slow to catch on to what our options were and how cost effective they were, especially for those of us who bought a sticker for other reasons anyway. So this is my plea for there being a good, I mean, I don't really want to call it PR. I want to call it more like educational and
Right.
a visibility that this is here. And I did for quite a few weeks, whenever I brought my recycling and the composting, would go up and say, okay, this is the pile. I'm not sure where it goes. Is this trash? Is this compost? Can
Right.
this go in with paper? And they've got a list of most of the things, but there's still enough, the sort of paper egg cartons that you buy, those turn out to be for compost and not paper.
Right.
But it wasn't intuitively obvious to me. So this is my plea for good education, including for people right now to use the transfer station if they've got a sticker anyway, and kind of get prepped for what else their options might be. And then
Yeah.
a quick question, at the transfer station in the compost, not only do they take meat products, but you can put in bones,
Mhm.
turkey leg bones, I mean, significant bones. Is that something that, and I think it depends on how high the heat process is in the composting service. Is that likely to be included for those of us who are meat eaters? It's been a
Well,
plus.
if we're using Martin's Farm, yes, because the transfer station compost goes to Martin's Farm. Yeah, Martin's Farm has, windrows that are, go up to a very high temperature. And that basically takes care of a lot of the composting. The compostable takeout containers, they just kind of melt in those piles. So yeah. I don't know if the bones melt. I haven't heard that question asked, but they do accept them.
As long as they accept them, they must be dealing with them appropriately. And I'm okay not knowing all the details, but
Right. Well, I think that, they rake out a certain amount of stuff that doesn't get melted, like UMass trays and stuff like that. But when I was there, I asked the question, how can they tell the difference between a plastic cup and a compostable cup that looks like plastic? And that was an easy answer. The compostable cup just melts and the plastic cup lasts forever. So they can see what to rake out in that way.
Good. We have a question from one chat question. Will the trash hauler be available to Pelham residents?
To Pelham, that will depend on the contract and whether, I think that if Pelham wants to be included, they need to get their town administrators to contact the town manager in Amherst to get into the conversation. But I don't see why not. I think that would be fantastic. They would just need to be included in the contract.
Okay, thank you.
Darcy, a lot of this feels like it's, tied to habits that people get into over very long periods of time And here we are, a group of older adults, so I mean a long period of time. And what has worked to educate? Because I think Carol was really hitting that point. Like, there's got to be a lot of I mean, I think a lot of us, even growing up, heard about plastic and cans and glass and paper, but I guess it's how far are people willing to go to change habits that have been pretty entrenched, and how do we help educate people on the value of the why to get more people supportive of the initiatives that you're part of trying to get in place in our town.
Right. I think that when it is finally adopted, there has to be a serious outreach and education. I mean, there needs to be outreach before it's adopted also, but there needs to be outreach to educate people. Now, if you're getting the hauler service, you will be aware of the pay-as-you throw system. That it would be a brand new system, and you would be aware of how certain configurations would be cheaper. And you'd also be getting 3 carts. So I think part of it will be, you know, people, if you get 3 carts, you're probably gonna want to know what that 3rd cart is all about. So I think that it is so easy to change this particular habit. One of our counselors, Mandy Johannicki, lived for a while in Boulder, Colorado, which is a hotbed of waste reduction. And they have Boulder and all of the surrounding cities have curbside compost pickup. And she told the story of how she was, you know, she was resistant at first and didn't like it and was pushing back. But it took her, she said, only a year to not only pick up everything that she was supposed to be doing, but to love it, to love the system because of how genius it is, a program to divert the compost out of the trash. People like their trash not to smell. And they like the idea that they're helping the environment. So I think it is, there will need to be, you know, education about how to use the compost cart so that it, is easy to clean. And, it might be that people are going to need to use biodegradable bags for the compost or something like that. I use paper bags for mine. I just use grocery bags and it works absolutely fine. But people will have to learn things like, maybe keep the bones in the freezer until it's compost day or something like that. That's what I do. And they're very simple things. But I get what you're saying. People are, I talk to people who's like, oh no, I'm not gonna separate my food scraps for one reason or other, but they will. It's one of these things, and not only that, but once the town adopts this program and people get in the habit of it, they are going to be so proud of living here. I mean, it's going to be a model, and people just really get into living in a town that has curbside compost pickup. My son just moved to Tacoma Park, Maryland, right outside DC, and we were all thrilled. He has curbside compost pickup in Tacoma Park. So he's, it took him all of, like 3 months to get in the program, and he's, taking out his compost every day.
Carol, again?
Uh, I think when it comes time to kind of bring people on board, that some of the things I anticipate, I mean, just when we all went to USA and suddenly we had these big bins instead of, big wheelie bins instead of the smaller basket style, was a lot of people said, I can't fit that. It can't go in my garage. Where am I going to keep it? And some built sheds for them. Some figured out that there were in fact smaller bins. But so I can imagine 3 bins might get a similar sort of, that means 3 trips down to the end of my driveway. And to just sort of anticipate what some of the hurt points might be, and that some of the benefits, I mean, certainly the better for the planet is definitely there, but financially, if you're not putting your food scraps down your disposal, then that's going to not only be good for the planet, it's also going to lessen your water bill and your electric bill, because that's part of running your disposal.
Right.
So,
That's a good point.
some of the sort of little reality pieces that kind of good to put right up front for people, because, I really like the cost savings of going to just the transfer station and dropping USA. And that made me happy to do the little extra.
Yeah, no, people love the transfer station. And one of the issues with this proposal is that our best waste reducers tend to be transfer station members. And so it's convincing them that a townwide program will be good for everybody. We want, the Zero Waste Amherst wants to keep the transfer station services. I mean, ideally, it would be nice for everyone to have universal services, so that everyone has access to the hard to recycle material drop off. There's no reason why all of our college students can't drop off their mattresses and whatever at the transfer station without paying $125. So we'd like to make all those different services available to everybody.
Sandy, there's a couple messages in the chat.
Right. I'm not sure if it's a question, but someone wrote, we compost at home, but I can't compost everything. What we cannot compost, for example, meat wrappers, fish skin, fat and bones, we keep in a bag in the freezer until trash day.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yep.
So can I just, this is, a lot of this embarrassingly is new to me, but what would be kind of, to be as self-righteous as possible, what would be the ideal situation that I separate, plastic, glass, and metal from paper and compostables, have those 3 different streams and have them all picked up separately or dropped off separately at transfer station? Is that really the end goal here?
The end goal is to divert compost from the trash
Yeah.
and to reduce also by having a pricing incentive, by paying according to the amount of trash you produce.
Oh, okay.
So the idea for both, the compost has a couple of reasons why we want to divert it. We want to keep the methane out of the landfill, but we also want to reduce trash altogether. So one way of doing that is also by having a price incentive.
Gotcha.
You said 6 of 7 landfills in our area are going to be closing in the next 5 years. I think I
Yeah.
heard you say that. So what's the plan? I mean, is that got people already looking at other space to start new landfills?
Well, a lot of our trash, another way that USA and some other haulers are not transparent are that they don't tell us where the trash goes.
Oh.
So they're already transporting trash to distances quite far away,
Hmm.
to like to New York, to the Carolinas. Some of the trash is carried by train cars, I guess, and so we're running out of space.
Hmm.
So it's you know, if we can divert the compost, that makes more space. If we can, you know, one of the things we haven't mentioned is just consumption reduction. I mean, that's sort of more the answer than anything else. What you know, the recycle, reuse, recycle, what are the three? Reduce, reuse, recycle. But the most important is refuse. In other words, don't consume or reduce your consumption so that you're not throwing away so much. Or, you know, a lot of people are using Buy Nothing Amherst or other ways of buying used furniture and clothing are the biggest items that people throw away. So if you can reuse furniture and reuse clothing, that is a big contribution to the reducing of waste. Right now, people are throwing them, you know, throwing it all in the trash.
Mm.
My
So
last question is what towns in Western Massachusetts are role models that seem to be further along than we are, that you're all learning from their success?
well, we're learning from Pittsfield and Longmeadow that we could do dual stream recycling. There are Lexington, there aren't other communities in Western Mass that are doing curbside compost pickup, but there are other entire states. And there are a few communities in Eastern Mass that are doing curbside compost pickup. And one community, I cannot think of its name right at the moment, that has banned organics in the waste stream. Hamilton. And so it is the wave of the future. It just is one of those things that the hauler industry is very resistant to. And the municipalities, you know, they are tending to want to privatize rather than take on more to do themselves. So the communities, the Department of Environmental Protection has a name for communities who just allow the haulers to have free reign, and they are called wasted hands, or washed hands communities that are sort of washing their hands of the responsibility for their waste and just letting the private companies do it. So right now, we are among the washed hands communities. So we'd like to change that and take responsibility for our waste.
Christine had a question, I think.
So let's make this the last question. I'm looking at the clock, and then we'll move on.
Christine, you had a question? Oh, you got to unmute.
Christine, you have to unmute yourself.
He's trying.
Usually lower left, you'll see audio with a line through it. It's not working. Or you could write your question in the chat.
Okay, am I on
There
now?
you go. Now
Yeah.
you are.
Okay,
Congratulations.
good. I finally fixed it. I have lived in Amherst for almost 30 years, and I have been composting for most of that time with my vegetables and my leaves. I don't compost all the leaves, and my garden waste. I have a separate place to put the garden waste, and I get a lot of good compost, and it really helps my gardens.
Cool.
So I would encourage people to think about that too.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Using your compost, yes.
Well, the beauty is you're using it. You know, I think a lot of us have compost in the back, but the problem is we don't use it. You know, it kind of is there and it just, you know, it's got some clippings and different things in it, but occasionally we think to use it, but not regularly.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
and
I screen it every, well, I'll be doing that soon, screen it, and then I spread it on my grass and I spread it on my garden, and it makes a big difference.
Mhm.
Yeah, I use mine too.
Yep.
Great.
Thanks, Harley.
Okay, well, I think we're just about done unless there's any last final questions or comments. Well, Darcy, thank you so much. Uh, I found this really fascinating, and I think there is so much, and I think the key is going to be education. Um, very basic education, and I think I congratulate the Zero Waste Committee for, and for doing this, and we really need to clean up our hands.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Darcy.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. And
Thanks,
and when you
Darcy.
do click off, there will be a little survey questions that you can answer.
In about 30 seconds, that's all it takes. We love the feedback. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, this was great.
Have a great evening, everybody.